Has a flag ever changed your life? There have been many for me. The first one I remember, I was 13, and my mother dragged me downtown to watch a parade. I had no idea there were this many shades of person. I'm a comedian. I'm also an actor, poet, author, painter. I do a lot of things. I have a lot of identities. But today what I want to talk to you about is the fact that I'm a graphic designer. I actually studied graphic design, and in my studies I focused on a thing called vexillology, which is the study of flags. And specifically, I was obsessed with pride flags. I love them, and somehow they kind of became some of my biggest teachers. So today I want to tell you 5 lessons that pride flags have taught me. This is a pride flag. We all know this. We live in a country that is covered in them. Iceland is one of the safest places in the world to be queer. You can't walk 5 steps through a rural town here without finding a rainbow street somewhere. And then there is, of course, the Rainbow Road in the heart of Reykjavík, one of the centerpieces of our city. But have you ever asked yourself why it is even a rainbow? This is Harvey Milk. Now, Harvey was the first ever openly queer elected politician in the United States of America. He very thoroughly believed that the best thing that we could do to fight for liberation is to be out and proud. Pride, of course, being the only antidote to the shame that we have been made to feel throughout the ages that have splintered us apart and made it hard to organize. Now, Harvey wanted there to be a symbol for the whole queer community, and so he commissioned 3 artists, Gilbert Baker, James McNamara, and Lynn Segerblom, to make a symbol for the community. And they came up with this, the original pride flag with 8 colors. And there have been many reasons given for why it is a rainbow. Lynn Segerblom, who at the time went by Fairy Argyle Rainbow, incredibly 70s. I love her. She said that it was because she likes rainbows, which I believe her the most. But Gilbert Baker, he came with a more poetic answer, which is the fact that the rainbow is a spectrum, and that within it there is room for everyone. The flag was debuted in June at a Pride festival, and then 5 months later, Harvey Milk was dead. The community took Harvey's death very hard, and they gathered around it, and Gilbert Baker made sure that the flag would fly as far as he could, eventually becoming the international symbol we all know today, and a memory of what Harvey meant to us. Now, first lesson is that visibility matters. Now, the second flag I want to talk about is the second ever flag that was made after the rainbow flag. This is the leather pride flag. Now, the leather community is a really interesting thing and very hard to describe. It's basically a bunch of burly men meeting in biker bars, wearing leather and doing stuff I'm not allowed to tell you at a TED Talk. But they, with their open sexuality and even less socially acceptable form of queerness, they often felt like they were excluded from that rainbow, from that community, and so they decided they needed to make their own, and they did. Tony DeBlas made it. So yes, they did this, but then eventually the leather community becomes what's called the BDSM community. Another thing I probably shouldn't be talking about at a TED Talk. You can look it up at your local libraries. The BDSM community is there and has taken up this flag now. And the first time I ever walked in a pride march was with the BDSM community here in Iceland. Now, there was a lot of drama at the time about the fact that the BDSM organization had been put into the queer organization here in Iceland, Samtökin 78. And there had been so much infighting over this, but it was done because there is still a lot of prejudice out there. I have friends who have lost their jobs. It's often used in like parental disputes. It is a terrible thing, and so they put us in there. And the first year that I walked was the first year that we were not booed. It was also near the end of that walk that I saw an older man start to cry when he saw us, because he had never been allowed that visibility. Lesson 2 is that we all need to feel we belong. Now we're going to jump a little bit in time over to the start of the 2000s when Michael Page created the bisexual flag, and it was a huge success. Everyone loved it, and he told a friend of his, Monica Helms, that she should make a flag for her own community. And she said, no, I'm not really an artist. I don't really have any ideas. She then went home, went to sleep, and immediately woke up with the idea of the flag fully formed in her head, the trans flag. This symbol is the blue represent men, pink for the women, and then white for people in between or outside of it. So it is, it comes from the dreamscape. It can also be read up or down because, as Monica Helm says, there's no wrong way to be queer. It took me a very long time to figure out that I was trans. Well, figuring it out wasn't the problem. Allowing myself to use the term was the problem because it's such a heavy term. I never knew what to call myself. I just said queer. And then finally, in 2020, I was nearly beaten up for wearing a dress in downtown Reykjavík. And I decided that it doesn't really matter anymore whether they see me as a cross-dresser, a genderqueer, a freak of some kind, or if they use the word trans. What matters is that I'm happy, and I am. Now we jump over the 2000s because the 2000s was a bit of a drought, but then in the 2010s, suddenly, there are so many flags because the internet had arrived. Like, so many flags. Like, I'm not kidding, so many flags. It is, like, I have 15 gigabytes of flags on my computer. It is insane. And honestly, the people around the queer people were just very confused. It looked like the queer community had completely lost its mind. And they asked, like, who are these flags even for? It was kids. It was kids on Tumblr and DeviantArt. They were online and they were trying to figure themselves out and using flags to do it. And they saw all of these labels that have been given already and decided these aren't quite enough and made their own. And so now there is just so many of them. I never made a flag of my own, but I was one of these kids. Because when I was about 15, 16, I started realizing I'm somewhere on the queer spectrum. I didn't know where, and I just knew about sexuality, so gender was not in my head yet. And so I thought to myself, do I like only girls? No. Do I like only boys? No. Do I like boys and girls? No. And it took me over a year to figure out what exactly was wrong. It wasn't until I found this flag that I realized what it was. Pansexuality means that I can be attracted to anyone regardless of gender. In most cases, it's basically bisexuality, but it was that tiny change that made it so that I could be free and be myself. Lesson 4 is that your identity is for yourself, not for others. Now, the last flag I can guarantee you already know. This is a pride flag. But this is also a pride flag. But what are those two stripes there at the top? This is the Philadelphia Pride flag. In Philadelphia, there had been some high-profile cases of racism within the queer community. And so they decided that they were going to add those two stripes to represent that they were trying to eradicate racism from within the queer community. Then the city of Seattle saw this and went, oh, cool idea, and they added the trans flag, creating this 11-layered thing. A graphic designer named Daniel Quasar saw this and went, my eyes, and then made this arrow into the shape. And then finally, Valentino Vecchietti added the intersex flag to that little nook over there. And now we have what we call the progress flag. The thing with this flag is that it's often misunderstood. People think that this is meant to like replace the rainbow. That is not what's going on. The rainbow is still there. It's all there and behind there. It represents the breadth of the community and that there is room for everyone. The arrow, however, is the direction we are going. It is meant to represent the goals that we have, because lesson 5, the fight is not over. We live in Iceland, a lot of us at least. I live in Iceland. It is the safest place to be queer right now, but that doesn't mean that it is a utopia. There's still a lot of hate out there, and we have been fighting our own waves of backlash in the past few years, including a lot of hate crimes. And many of the hate crimes target the flags. For some reason, people keep ripping them down, burning them, painting on them. They even got to the Rainbow Road. Flags, in a community like we are in, where most people understand that being queer is not just something that's okay, but something that's good, it becomes a lot harder to target the people. And so the flags become our canary in the coal mine. It shows us what people want to do to us. Flags inspire people. They create strength in a community that has been through a lot of pain. And I think without them, our community would be a lot less colorful, literally and figuratively. I think queer people love our flags because they're colorful, because they are often quite loud, they're messy. They are us. It isn't until we can all experiment and explore ourselves that we can feel we are ourselves, and that we can feel we are in community. It isn't until we can fight back and be open and proud as we are that we can be free. Flags are a form of internal feeling made into a physical object. And it is so important for us to be able to understand ourselves, and for the world outside of us to be able to understand us. So I ask of you this: if you don't have a community, find them. If you don't have the words, invent them. And if you don't have the symbols, make them. Thank you.